Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Kathy with Duality Unfolding. I have a full moon pick a card reading for you. So the kind of theme of this full moon reading is going to be closing chapters. So we're going to pull 4 tarot cards to look at any chapters that you're closing out at this time. Like with the power of the full moons are about releasing, and there's a lot of energy with this full moon in Scorpio to allow us to let go of things. Scorpio rules death and rebirth. You know, we're releasing something in order to rebirth something. We're letting go of something to create space for something new to come in. And energetically, it feels like that wants to happen very quickly. If you are feeling stuck, stagnant, you're ready for new things to come in. We're going to take a look at the chapters that you're ready to close out, the kind of themes and different things that you're ready to let go of, so that if you feel like you're not sure what needs to be released, this reading can help you with that. We're going to pull a card for healing. We'll also pull a card for surrender. So I have 4 different groups for you to choose from. And then I have 2 different cards. So the top cards for each group are crystal cards. So I'll flip those over so you can see the kind of properties of the card or of the crystal. And then I've got some runic oracle cards. So I will show you the image, and then during the reading, whichever one you pick, I'll read the portion of the guidebook for that specific rune. So if there's something that catches your eye, or you're familiar with runes, or you just like one of these crystals, I wanted to give you all these options to kind of help you choose something, but also to obviously add to the reading. So group number 1, your crystal is aventurine. And the message of aventurine is luck, prosperity, fulfillment. And your runic oracle card is this Wunjo. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I hope I am. But we've got a little hummingbird and some magnolias and this crescent moon. Group number 2, your crystal is malachite. And the message is restoration, protection, growth. Your runic oracle is Gebo with this swan. And I don't know if this is like a lotus. It's and the full moon. It's beautiful. I like this one. Group number 3, your crystal is amazonite. And the message of amazonite is luck, abundance, comfort. Your runic oracle is Kenaz with this owl, this book, some fire, wisdom. And then group number 4, your crystal is jasper. And the message is stability, wholeness, perseverance. And your runic oracle is Rideho with this blue whale and some jellyfish. Very nice. So these are the 4 options. As always, you can watch as many readings as you like. Timestamps are below, if that helps you choose. Or you just want to randomly scroll and just start watching wherever. You do what feels good for you, because I feel like this full moon has a lot of energy connected to it. I feel like I can always tell when a full moon's going to be a little bit crazy, because a couple days before, I notice it with people's driving, like their driving habits. So people were really aggressive driving today. And so I feel like the energy is kind of ramping up. I felt really tired and sluggish. And so it's pretty late in the afternoon by the time I'm recording this. I usually record in the morning. But I hope that you enjoy the readings. I hope you have a lovely full moon. And I just want to say thank you for watching or returning. And I will see you in the readings. Hello, group number 1. So if you chose the aventurine crystal and this Wunjo rune, let's look at the guidebook and see if I'm even saying it right. There's a good possibility that I am not, because I'm new to runes. I've wanted to learn about them. I had someone that kind of taught me about them like a long time ago. This is like this is decades ago. When I was in my 20s. That was a long time ago, and I don't remember the things that I were taught. There also weren't little animals and things like that. So, okay. So we need page 16. Oh no, look at these. Oh, I was gonna say these pages are in Roman numerals. It's gonna take us forever, but they're not. That's the intro part of the guidebook. Okay. Wunjo hummingbird. I'll show you the card while I'm reading this. The hummingbird is joyful as he dances in between flowers. His happy energy and satisfaction and harmony with life brings his wishes into being. He dances his dance surrounded by the jewel-like flashes of his friends and family. Wunjo, with its ecstatic energy, is a most welcome rune in a reading. It has a certain bittersweetness as the final rune of the letter Et, A-E-T-T, bringing the whisper of change or a shift like the first rays of a sunset after a perfect day. When this delightful rune pops up, you can expect joy, fellowship, and harmony. Aww. A symbol of well-being. It brings love, prosperity, and fulfillment. And then it talks about being in reverse, which it was not. And then the keywords are joy, pleasure, belonging, kindreds, and prosperity. And so it has magical workings as a little suggestion. And so it says, this is a wonderful rune for health and happiness spell. Sprinkle a ground vanilla pod in the shape of this rune on your warm morning drink. So this is very, and I love that it, like, okay, so this card, this Wunjo rune is about joy, pleasure, belonging, kindreds, and prosperity. And this aventurine crystal has to do with luck, prosperity, and fulfillment. I cannot talk. I am very excited. Very excited about this. I don't know if you are very excited about this full moon. Because I feel like I might be picking up on your energy because this doesn't feel like my energy. I feel like a blanket baby today. I feel like I just want to curl up in a blanket and watch Netflix. So I feel like this energy that I'm picking up is yours and probably not mine. So if that resonates and you feel like you're ready to go, you're ready to start some new things, let's look at what chapters you're closing out. Let me see, I don't know what I want to do with these. I'm just going to move things around. You know me. Anyway, so we're going to look at 4 tarot cards and just get like a consolidated view of what it is that you're ready to close out. And then we've got 3 oracle cards, 1 for surrender, 1 for healing, and then 1 is a starseed oracle. It's just these are just guidance from God, source, spirit, your ancestors, whoever is on your spirit team that wants to give a little shout out and show up and give you some messages. So let's look at these tarot cards. Okay. So we have got 10 of Swords, Ace of Swords, the Hermit, and the Tower. Okay. So I like it. And I will tell you why. Because that's why you're here, right? Okay, so 10 of Swords is a card of something really difficult coming to an end. In the traditional tarot, like the 10 of Swords usually has someone laying face down and they have 10 swords in their back. And they're like done and dusted. Like this is the worst it's gonna get. Like once you're metaphorically killed, you can't be killed more, right? It's like that is the end of the difficult time. And so you are ready to close out this chapter of hard times because you want to call something new and you want to start a new cycle. So the swords, aces are new beginnings. Swords have to do with communication, mindset, mental energy, belief systems. This can be spoken communication. This can have to do with listening. There's a lot of blue here. The Ace of Swords is much more prominent with like the blue than this 10 of Swords is. And also when we look at, for some reason, when I'm looking at these little floating tree lands, like for some reason, these looked like upside down mountains to me. Like I didn't realize it was, kind of trees that were just kind of pulled out by their roots and like floated up in the sky. So because my interpretation of it, like I don't want to say I misinterpreted it, but when I looked at it, I saw it as the mountains being upside down. So the difficult period of time that you were going through, it might have really like felt like it turned your life upside down. And you're coming out of that and you're coming into this time where gosh, you know how sometimes things can happen where our life gets turned upside down and we're like, can we just go back to the old way? Almost like how people were like after COVID happened and people were like, can we just go back to the old way? Can we go back to the old way? And it was like, not really. Like you can't unsee what you've seen. Or, you know, as other people say, you can't unfuck what's been fucked. And so the difficult time that you went through, like, that turned your life upside down, you don't want to go back to the way it was before. And really, even if you did, unfortunately you can't. But with this new beginning, this Ace of Swords, like, and the imagery of this tower, because when we look at this, they're opposites, right? Like these tree islands are this purpley pink and the sky is green. And here this mountain tower is green. So it's almost like your world got turned upside down and that the difficult fallout of that has come to a completion. Like you're closing out that chapter so that you can start a new chapter where you are creating a world that works for you. And so when I talked about the opposites with like the imagery, I feel like you had contorted yourself to live in a world that didn't fit for you, but what you had been taught was that you didn't fit into it. And so over this time of like, because I feel like for some of you, this is like a long time that you've been like struggling and trying to just like fit in. Like you're just trying to fit in and like you're doing all the things to fit in. And it's almost like what I'm hearing is, but I did all the right things I was supposed to do and this wasn't supposed to happen. And I think the problem was that you followed somebody else's blueprint. And so it's not that the plan wasn't a solid plan. It was a great plan. It wasn't the right plan for you. It's almost like, this is a weird analogy because whenever I think of it, it feels physically uncomfortable to me. So I don't know if you've ever tried on somebody else's shoes, like somebody that wears the same shoe size as you, like you immediately are like trying on each other's shoes. And like, I feel like I did this like maybe as a kid or like in high school or something. And it's like a very visceral memory for me. Like, it's a very weird feeling to put on someone else's shoes because one, they're hot and that just, I don't know why that grosses me out. Like, but also like they fit, but it's off. Like it's not right. You know what I mean? Versus like when you put on a pair of shoes that you've worn for a while, like they fit because they fit your feet, right? Because you've broken them in. But like, you know, like let's say you wear like a size 9 and you try on a pair of your friend's shoes and they also wear a size 9 and it's like these fit, but like they fit weird. So it feels like you have been working so hard to make somebody else's shoes that are in the right size fit for you, but it's always felt weird. And so I think that's where like that really kind of, it feels like this really disheartened feeling of like, but I did everything I was supposed to do. And like, why didn't it work out? Like I did what I was like, it feels like just this really adamant, like I did what I was supposed to do. Like I followed the rules. I was a good girl or a good boy. And like, why did this happen? And this happened because that's what tower energy does because I feel like this is actually the proper order. When we are not living in alignment with like our soul purpose, with our soul mission that we, either if you believe in past lives, or reincarnation, or both really. If you believe in reincarnation, like we have been here before and then we came back for a purpose, right? And, our soul makes an agreement that there are things that it wants to do in this lifetime. And that doesn't necessarily mean that like your soul mission is like to cure cancer, right? Like your soul mission might be that like in your last life, you were really, really rich. And in this next lifetime, you want to experience what it is to live in poverty. Or in your last life, you were a man. And in this life, you want to experience what it's like to live as a woman, to see what that experience is like I don't know why I said that twice. the earth is a school. It's a place where we come to learn and grow and evolve at a soul level. And I feel like the tricky thing with like vibrations and like this is getting a little off the rails, so stay with me. The frequency that our soul vibrates is a different frequency than like what we can vibrate at in this physical vessel, until we're able to move past the constraints of like the ego and the things that we're taught as we grow up, as we kind of are indoctrinated through like childhood of the, human experience, which essentially is just to say that like sometimes you have to transcend some earthly things before your soul can remember, or before your soul can get aligned with what it is that it wanted to do when it came here. And sometimes that doesn't happen, right? And sometimes it does. And, unless you remember your past lives, when you come back the next time, then maybe you know, maybe you don't. But long story short, long story long, your soul had something that it wanted to do. This little guy is dancing. Sorry, I'm shaking the table. Your soul had a mission that it wanted to accomplish, like when it came here. And in your upbringing, in your human experience here, there was a lot of programming and indoctrination and like lessons and social norms that you were taught. And somewhere along the way, like your mind took on this belief that like you don't fit in and that you need to fit in, that fitting in is the most important thing in this experience for you as a person, as you understand it right now, or at that time. And so over the course of like whatever's happened, like you've been working so hard to fit in and you just can't. And that's because your purpose, your mission was not to come here to fit in. If you don't believe in past lives, this really has to do with authenticity. That, all of us, if you're a human being, we're all socialized that there are things that we should and should not do, right? And that like there are people that live, kind of on the fringes of like what society decides is normal. People that are involved in subcultures, like the tattoo community is a subculture, it's just a smaller portion of like the overall community. People that live in vans, right? People that live off grid, like these are all subcultures. People that grow their own food, right? Like there's all these little subcultures that people break off of, or break off into, because that's how they feel most aligned and authentic. And a lot of us have an experience, maybe in our upbringing, maybe just wanting to belong and be connected to other people, where we learn that like the authentic parts of us are not like socially acceptable. And society can be like our little family bubble, or it can be like the couple that we're in, or it can be like our best friend group, or it can be like our peer group, or like where we work. And so like these social norms, like it's not that they're right or wrong, they just are the norm for that group. It's just what is acceptable to that group, or like not acceptable to that group, right? And so whatever that is for you, like you have been trying to be an inauthentic version of yourself because you were trying to fit in, because that's how you earn love and safety. And so something has happened that caused that, like, whatever this was to not work out, right? So like I was saying, I'm getting this message from you that like, but I did everything right, but I did what I was supposed to do, and it wasn't supposed to happen like this. Like I followed all the steps, and this stupid IKEA dresser still doesn't work. Like it feels like that's kind of the energy of like, no, I did this and this and this. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, the dresser doesn't work because like, it's not gonna it's not going to fit in that small space because the drawer is too big and the space of your room is too small, right? It's not built for that. Just like you are not built for fitting in. Like there's something authentic, there's an authentic expression of you that has been suppressed. And when we are not living in alignment, when we're not living in authenticity, when we want to accomplish our soul mission or we want to live our soul purpose, but we aren't, then that invites in the energy of the tower. Because somewhere along the way, you know, you decided that, and it could have been something as simple as like, I just want to be happy. Like, I'm tired of trying to do all these things to fit in, and I just don't. And like, I just want to be happy. And so we can call in the tower that way. It can also be something as tangible as like, my parents wanted me to be an accountant, and I have been for 10 years, and I hate numbers, and it's dumb. Like, it makes me miserable, and I hate tax season, and I don't want to do this anymore, you know? And then maybe you coming into alignment and saying like, I'm quitting my job. I'm going to go back to school, and I'm going to learn how to make pottery because I don't want to do numbers at all unless I'm measuring water and clay. That's all the numbers I want to do. And so when we make a drastic change like that, it creates this tower moment, you know? And one big thing about the tower is that like, the reason the tower crumbles is because the foundation wasn't solid to begin with. So, you know, the reason that these kind of trees have been plucked out of the ground was because they weren't rooted in solid, supportive soil. The reason that you couldn't succeed following somebody else's blueprint is because that wasn't made for you. That's not like... Those shoes feel weird because they're not yours. Yes, they're the right size. Maybe they look cute, but they're always going to feel weird because there's somebody else's that you've taken on and decided that you were going to kind of do like a fake it till you make it. Because eventually like it'll just feel normal, right? You just do it enough times and it'll feel normal to you, and it never has. And you had a moment in this difficulty where you said, you know what? I just want to be happy. I just want to live my most authentic life. I just want to transcend this bullshit or whatever it was for you that triggered this tower moment, which I feel like is probably one of the most beneficial things that could have happened for you. And then, you know, you went through this kind of hermit phase where, you know, you went really, really inward. We've got this purple here, you know, this hermit is kind of sitting on this purple, I don't know what this is, like a bush or tree or something, but the color correlates to the third eye, which is kind of, I don't want to say lit up, but it's prominent here. And so when we spend that time getting like introspective, focusing on ourselves, like allowing all the things to fall away, allowing everything to go quiet, creating a sense of quiet, it allows us time to be on that hermit's journey. And so the hermit's journey is a very deliberate, very slow, almost like dark night of the soul journey where like in the traditional tarot, like the hermit is an older person. They have a cloak on. It's the cloak of invisibility. So they're hiding under this cloak. They have a staff, you know, that they carry. And then they have a lantern. And so this lantern lights the way. The staff helps them to stay steady. But, you know, if you think about, like, if you've ever had the power go out and like you have a candle and, you know, like it works, you know, like you can see what you're doing, but you have to keep the candle very close to you because the light only goes so far and your eyes can't see in the dark, right? And so when we think about all of those elements, you know, where the hermit is carrying a lantern in one hand, a staff in the other, he's standing up, it's dark, he's also on a mountain, which I think this is kind of a nod to that. You can't move fast because you can't see shit, you know, and like like we're trying to get somewhere, and so it's almost like all the resources that you have intentionally slowed you way down so that you have to be very deliberate about the next steps that you take, because this hermit phase is deprogramming this. It's deprogramming the part of you that was taught, follow the blueprint. Just do all the steps that everybody else did. Do them as fast as you can, because it's a competition, but you can also never win, but don't stop trying. And by the way, even if you do win, you won't be good enough. So just repeat the cycle. Thank you, hustle culture. Each step that you took in that hermit's journey, each step you took with that lantern that was only lighting up like maybe 6 or 10 inches in front of you, forced you to focus on and put intention into the next step that you were taking. And that was deprogramming the lessons that you learned to just follow somebody else's blueprint. Because when we look at the world, like people, if you've done any kind of like personal development, self-development, if you like self-improvement stuff, you are familiar with any random article on anything that talks about 10 easy steps to blah, 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 5 easy steps to blah, 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 3 things you can do to change your whole life in 0.49 seconds. This isn't realistic. It's kind of stupid because I've tried this before. This doesn't work. Like, what is this list of garbage? So if you are familiar with that, that is what this programming is. Just do the steps, trust the process, do the steps. It's 10 steps to freedom. All you have to do is free your mind. Like, what does that even mean? Like, come on, please stop. In the hermit's journey, having that lantern that only lights up, like I said, 6 to 10 inches in front of you, you have to be very intentional. You have to focus because, like I said, it's in the dark. And it's on a mountain, and you have a staff and a candle in a glass box. So it's like there's a very high level of risk here, right? That like when you're looking at the next step, like you need to make sure that like, okay, is my depth perception good? Like is this flat, or am I stepping down onto like a really jagged rock? Like, am I going to hurt myself? I don't want to fall off the mountain, and it's not. The slowing down is not to create this sense of fear in you or like doubt or apprehension. Like the slowing down of the hermit's journey is to help you to get very, very intentional on what you do and don't want. Because on the hermit's journey, like you're going to take a step and you're going to like misstep. You're going to misinterpret like this candlelight and maybe you do tumble and maybe you scrape up your knee and it's going to hurt for a little while because you have to keep going on this mountain journey. But the next time you're not sure if you should take that step, you're going to be a lot more intentional and patient with yourself. You might even kind of tiptoe out there like, or you take your little staff and like, is that rock stable? It is not stable. Okay. So maybe let me sit down and then step down. What is the most intentional, best way for me to do it? That is what the hermit's journey is. Like learning how to determine, analyze, decide what is best for you versus what everybody else is doing that everybody says is what you're supposed to do. Which really makes me think of like, oh my gosh, it makes me think of like all of like diet and exercise culture, right? Where it's like, gosh, okay, story time. There was, I think I was like when was this? 2011, right? Okay, so I was like 31 and I was like really getting into the gym. And I was in the military, so it's like there's always a gym there. There's always like a gym bro that can teach you things. And also like, because I'm surrounded by like these gym bros, I'm kind of following like some of the diet stuff that they're doing. So it was like, winter time's like your bulk phase where you just eat whatever you want. And then like spring and summer's coming, so people are like in their cut phase. So they're trying to like drop body fat, right? And so a lot of the guys were doing this carb cycling thing. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It is the devil. But essentially it's a pattern of how you eat and don't eat carbs. So it was like, you had like a bulk day where it was like you eat 2 grams of carbs for like, I don't know, every half pound of your body weight or something. There was some formula. And then like the next day it's 1 gram. And then the day after that, it's like almost no carbs. And then you kind of repeat the cycle a couple times and then you just let yourself have like a break day. The first time I went like no carbs, I was a mess. I cried at work about, I don't remember what, but it was in the parking lot after work. And my boss was like, what is happening? And I was just like, I haven't had carbs today. It was just like a hot mess. And so I was following somebody else's blueprint because all these gym bros are not women. Their hormone cycle refreshes every 24 hours. My hormone cycle refreshes every 28 days. Big, mega huge difference, right? We have totally different levels of testosterone, totally different levels of estrogen. I need different hormones for things than they need hormones for. And so I was trying to follow their blueprint because, I mean, if it works for them, why wouldn't it work for me? And that's kind of what we're taught, right? When people have success, they're like, oh, just do what I did. It's easy. And sometimes it is not. Sometimes it is, sometimes it is for a lot of people and we're the only ones that it doesn't work for. But the hermit's journey is where we're deprogramming that, where we're learning like, okay, yeah, I can't do no carbs. I just can't. Like I love carbs. They make me happy. They want me to be happy. They love me too. Okay, so that, cuz love over everything. Also, what am I really trying to have a six pack? What do I need a six pack for? You know what I mean? Like what I don't wear anything that exposes my body. Like am I going to compete somewhere? No. And I love pizza. So this doesn't even work for me. So what is going to work for me? Maybe just a little bit of moderation. Just like a little bit of moderation. Like maybe just like pizza once a week and not pizza every other day, or maybe not pizza never, right? And so like that hermit's journey is what has taught you how to figure out what is for you and what is not for you. And like, also it's taught you how to figure out what works for you. And so like this really difficult chapter is coming to a close because you learned all the things that you needed to learn. And now that you're going into this new beginning, I feel like this is, for a lot of you, this is tied to the eclipses as well, because this last set of eclipses at the end of March and the beginning of April, this was like a new cycle of the nodes of the moon. So we'll have, I want to say 2 more cycles of eclipses in these nodes. So you'll see yourself kind of changing over maybe the next year and a half. But you're starting a new, you're starting a new chapter. You're coming into a time, you're coming out of a time of really difficult things. You're coming into a time of like prosperity and joy and happiness and like having like a group of people, like like a friendship group, like a tribe, like soul family, whatever it is that you want to call it. And you're able to come into these positive things because of this hermit phase, because you tried what everybody told you to do. It wasn't right for you and everything fell apart because it wasn't built on a foundation that was created by you. You figured out what kind of foundation you do want. And because you got so clear on it, which, oh my God, you guys, can we look at the, what is this magic? Because you got really clear on what it is that you want and you don't want, you are able to create like your own blueprint. You're able to create the life that you want in this next chapter. That's what you're going to be doing. So you're closing out this chapter of a really difficult time and you're coming into a new time where you're writing the chapter and it's from your heart. It's things that matter to you, that are coming from within you instead of, what people told you that you should be doing. So good job. But also this is exciting. This is fun. I love that like these, I love that this was all connected, this like prosperity, joy, new beginnings. Love it. I love it. Love that these are connected. Because, if we're going to go through something hard and we're going to start something new, what better way to start new things than like from a place of like what's really important to us, what's in our heart, what matters to us. Like, I mean, group number 1, look at you go. So this Oracle card is a Power of Surrender card. So, ooh, Okay, I was gonna say, let's see, but we are already looking at it. So surrender to creativity. Let your imagination soar. Stay open to all creative ideas about how to pursue a dream or solve a problem. Yes. Here's your healing message, healing heartbreak. And then the mantra is, my heart will love again. Yes, it will. Absolutely. Because, we are love. We are made from love. But there's so much green here. Look at all this green. Aventurine is connected to like the heart chakra. Love, fulfillment are very similar. There's a lot of green here. We've got the little bit of green, green, all of it. Your heart will love again. And then your starseed oracle is earth pulsing, pulse of the mother, slow down, time and nature. Okay. So yeah. And I feel like this guidance is very much connected to like that hermit energy. The hermit is connected to Virgo in astrology. You don't have to be a Virgo, but Virgo is an earth sign. And so, to me, what it feels like is in this next chapter, like you may need, or even just like right now, or in general, you may need extra time in nature. Like when things get a little shaky, like in the future, if like, or even if things are shaky right now, if you still feel like you're reestablishing this foundation, that you're still a little shaken up from some of the chaos that's happened. Like the encouragement is to spend time in nature, and that like, after going through your hermit's journey, this might be something that is just part of what you need. It might be something that's part of your self-care that, like maybe during your lunch break, you need to drive to a park and like sit outside to just feel the sun on your face, or like just feel the breeze or smell the flowers or trees. Maybe you've taken up like taking hikes or walks in nature. Like maybe you've taken up gardening. Like there's so many ways that we can connect with the earth. And so I feel like this is definitely a message of a little bit of like guidance. Like when things get tough, like you can always, like Mother Earth is always there for you. Yeah. So group number 1, this has been your full moon reading on the chapters that you are closing. So I hope that you're excited. I feel like this is very exciting. Like it's always nice to come out of a really hard time. Because I think that a lot of times, like when we're in a hard time for a while, we just kind of become numb to it, where it's like, okay, I just got to put my head down and shoulder through it, because what else am I supposed to do? Right? I can't like time travel out of this. I can't teleport somewhere else, because everywhere I go, there I am. And like the only way out is through, right? Which is like they say. And so you have come through it. Like you are closing out this chapter. So if it feels like you are still in it, like you maybe lift your chin up and see that the finish line is right there, and that you're ready to make some new, make a new beginning for yourself with like joy and prosperity and connection and just loveliness. Yeah. So group number 1, thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you for letting me read your cards. If you enjoyed the reading, I would love it if you would like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, group number 2. So if you chose this malachite crystal and this Gebo rune, this is your reading. So let me show you this, and let me read you the passage. It says, the swan knows the gift of lasting love. Aww. Joining with their partner, they exchange a promise and a bond of fidelity, allegiance, and trust. Each lives in the harmonious cycle of giving and receiving while caring for, loving, and protecting the other. That is so sweet. Gebo is a beautiful and generous symbol of sacred exchange. To receive, you must also release. When blessed, you should in turn bless. Gebo encourages honoring your commitments and contracts and returning like for like. Union comes in many forms: love, friendship, family, and business. And then the keywords are gifts, partnership, sacrifice, fair exchange, and honor. Lovely. Let me put this. I don't know where to put this. I'll just leave that there. Okay, so we'll see how that kind of ties into everything. So I have 4 tarot cards for us to look at, to just kind of take a look at the chapter or chapters that you're closing right now. A surrender card, a healing card, and then a starseed oracle card. So Let's look at these tarot. Okay, I like it. I feel like I didn't pull these in any order. I just asked for 4 random cards to help each group see what chapters they're closing out. So I love the succession of this 8 and 9 of Wands. We also have this 8 and 9 of Cups, and then we've got this 8 of Wands here. So 8 of Cups is about leaving something behind, walking away from something that sometimes we can be offered something. You know, this Gebo rune talked about like this balance, right? Giving and receiving. That when, you know, in order to receive something, we have to release something else, right? Like if your hand is full, you can't receive something new. So you either have to decide that you want to hold on to what you have, or you want to release what you have so that something new can come in. And I feel like that is what you have done. That in this last chapter, like you walked away from something or someone. For some of you, like this feels like a job or like a career path. For others of you, this could even be like walking away from like, because like what I saw in my brain was the meme about like it was like a picture of like one of those gigantic spiders in Australia, and somebody's like burn the whole house down or like throw the house away. So like some of you might have like thrown away your whole life. Like you might have just been like, you know, I'm starting over. So there might have been some of you that had some midlife Uranus opposition stuff come in. Others of you might have just decided, you know what, that chapter of my life, you know, even that book in the, you know, in the series of my life it needs to be closed, and we need to start something new. Like maybe even like a spin-off of a series. And then you came into this 9 of Cups energy, which is a card of wish fulfillment. But we've got this person here, and she's got her arms crossed. She does not look very satisfied. And it almost feels like this was the practice round, is what it feels like. This chapter that you're closing out, it doesn't feel like it was a very long chapter. I think that you wanted it to be something more than it was, because you got really clear before you walked away from whatever you left behind. And in this current chapter that you're in, there are choices that you made and things that you put in place because you really thought that that's what you wanted. And you did really want that. I think the only problem was that, like, sometimes we want things because we think it's going to be a certain way, and it's not, you know, and so there's some disappointment, and it's like, well, this isn't great. Other times we want things and we think we want that lifestyle, but we just want a taste of it, you know? And so it's like, sorry, I don't know if you can hear that. Ben is going to town, scratching on his little scratch. Sir, I'm trying to do a tarot card reading here. Do you mind? Okay. Sorry. Somebody has a little full moon attitude. And so like you made this conscious choice to leave something behind. You stepped into this new experience, and I think you thought that it was going to maybe last longer or be different than it was. And so it's like, once you got there and you experienced it, it was like, well, I guess that was fun, but that's not exactly what I wanted. It almost feels like, you know, when you're hungry, maybe you're not hungry, you just think you're hungry, and you're trying to figure out what you want, and you're imagining like all the things that you could eat, where it's like, well, I could have a salad, but no, it doesn't taste, like in my mind, it doesn't taste good. Or like, well, I could make some pasta. It's like, no, that doesn't feel right either. And like, do I want that? No, that doesn't feel good. Maybe do I want a bowl of cereal? No, that doesn't feel right either. And it's like anything you go through, like in your mind to figure out what you want, like a taste of, like nothing really fits. And then it's like, maybe I'm not hungry. Like maybe I'm just like craving a little something and I'm not actually hungry because nothing sounds appealing. And it's almost like that's the chapter that you're in, right? Where it's like, okay, well, I've been there, done that, tried something new, and I'm here, and like it's not the right taste. Like this isn't what I thought it was going to be, or maybe this isn't what I want. And as you're closing out this chapter, you're really like this world card is a completion of something. And so it feels like the realization that you can make, how do I say this? I feel like this chapter that you're closing out is helping you to realize that like you don't always have to pick one thing, right? So let's go back to the food analogy, and you are hungry, but you're like, actually, I want like a little bit of cheese, and I want like a little bit of fruit, and like maybe a little bit of meat, and like, ooh, like some carbs. And so like, it's not really like a meal, right? Like you can't, how do you like order that somewhere? You know what I mean? Like you can't go to a restaurant, order that, but you can go to the grocery store and buy all the things. You might have some of these things around the house. You maybe don't even have to like put a bra on and leave the house. Maybe you don't have to put shoes on or pants on, whatever. You've got all the things you need in the home. And then you realize when you make this little meal for yourself and there's a little bit of this and a little bit of this and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, that you have actually made yourself a little charcuterie board. And that this might be your thing, right? This might be like something that you do pretty regularly because you enjoy a variety of things. And like it feels like the chapter that you're closing out was this chapter that said you have to pick one thing. Like, well, you can only have one career, or you can, like, you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way. It's almost like if this, because there's the cups here kind of denote love, and then also like this Gebo rune talks about like swans and partnership. So for the example of love, like it might have been that you were taught that like, you know, you date someone for the purposes of getting married. And maybe you've had all these relationships that like you thought that it was going to result in marriage, and like it didn't. And it might have been that like you wanted to get married and they didn't. And then it might have been another relationship where they wanted to get married and you didn't. And then there might have been a situation where you both wanted to get married and like you don't make it past the third date because you're not compatible. And like to follow this example, like as you're coming to the end of the cycle, like maybe one of the things that you've learned is that like it's okay to be in relationships that don't last forever. And that like, or maybe like you've decided that like you want to try polyamory because you would like to have a relationship with multiple people that all get along, you know, that have their own relationships in there. And so it really, like the chapter that you're ending is around like having to choose between things instead of being able to like balance what it is that you want so that you can have all the things that you want to have. And I feel like there's like resistance around that, right? Because like in our society, it's like, well, you can't have it all. And it's like, well, what does that mean? What do you mean I can't have it all? Like, why can't I make my life like a charcuterie board where I have a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this, you know? Because really that's kind of what balance is, right? Like we think of balance as like just two things, but if you think about a waiter that's carrying like one of those really big trays that has like 4 entrees and 3 drinks on it, that's a little bit of everything. And they've figured out a way to balance it to get it where it needs to be, you know? And so it's like, why can't you make that for your life, right? Why can't you have, instead of having one relationship that's the end all be all, like instead of having one relationship where it's like your best friend and your lover and your travel partner and your business partner and your mentor and your whatever, like why can't you just have all those individual relationships? Like why can't you have a friend that is also a mentor? Why can't you have a lover that's a business partner? Why can't you have someone that feels like a brother who's also your travel buddy, you know? It feels like this, like, because the World card is expansive, and it feels like this chapter that you're closing out was around keeping you kind of contained, like keeping a lid on it. And it's like, no, I just, I'm water. I just need to be able to flow wherever I'm flowing. And I think that the sooner that you can get okay with accepting that it's okay for you to live a life that defies social logic, right? Because like the social norm is that you can't have it all. And it's like, well, who made up this rule? Because they're probably dead, because I feel like this is a very kind of old mindset. So it says you can't have it all, because like all is subjective, right? Like all is different for everybody, right? For some people, like having it all might be having a job where like they make enough money to travel, and they have a really modest like home because it's not important to them to have like a mega mansion or whatever. And they, I don't know, they have a pet and they take it with them everywhere, but they don't have a yard because they like to be out of the house, and they go to the park and it's fine, right? That you don't have to have like the big house with the yard, and like before you can get a dog, or you don't have to make crazy money, and like you get what I'm saying. I'm obviously getting a little bit exasperated because I'm not a big fan of the whole like you can't have it all, because it's like, well, what, I probably can't have your all, but I also probably don't want that. But the sooner you get comfortable with allowing yourself to just have that charcuterie board life that you want, the faster you're going to be able to get to it, because it's already out there, right? It's like what you want wants you. Like what you're drawn to is drawn to you. But the block in that is that like, this kind of old mindset of like, well, but you can't have it all. Like you can't have a charcuterie board style meal for every dinner. And it's like, well, why can't I? Like, why can't I have like like a random array of vegetables and like a carb, right? Like why can't I do that? Like why can't I have like some pickles and like pickled radishes, and then like, I don't know, like a little side salad and like some bread? Like why can I not do that? Because I'm making it for myself. So like, why can I not have that? Well, because it's not normal. And it's like, who cares about normal? What is normal? We don't know. We don't care. But that is the chapter that you're closing out. You're closing out this chapter that says that you have to, happiness only comes in one form, and that it has to look a certain way. And so you're once you allow yourself to do things in what looks to the normies like an unconventional way, that brings you a lot of happiness and joy, the faster you're going to be able to get to living that life that you want for yourself. So let's look at your oracle cards. So this surrender card, surrender to setting limits. Exactly. The you can't have it all. That is a limit that somebody else has imposed on you, and you say no. You say, good day, sir. I reject reject your limitation on my life, because I'm a magical being. The message is, it is healthy to set boundaries in relationships. Practice expressing your needs, and remember that no is a complete sentence. Yes. So you can say no to other people's expectations of you. You can, kind of put that boundary up to say like, hey, I get that you don't understand why I want to live a charcuterie board life, but also like, it's not harming you. I'm not asking you to financially contribute to it. It doesn't affect you. So please keep your comments to yourself. If you don't have anything nice to say, then shush, por favor. Thank you. Okay, your healing message is untangling neglect. And the mantra is, I take the time to give myself all the approval I desire. Come on. What did I say? The sooner you can approve of yourself living a charcuterie board life, the faster you're going to get there. Ugh. I love it. And obviously the universe is like, yes, yes. And then finally we have your Starseed Oracle, which is baby steps. Yeah. Action, follow your intuition before it makes sense. Yeah. So I feel like that is really aligned with this Eight of Wands, this quick movement, that, you know, because you lived so long trying to accommodate for the limitations that other people had set out for you, had like dictated to you, there's going to be times that like you're moving so quickly towards your new life, or you're like really enjoying your new life, and that old ego stuff is going to be like, but that's not how we're supposed to do it. The encouragement of following your intuition is what's going to keep you in that space of like the joy and the support and the balance and the harmony. It's almost like your intuition is going to be able to like protect you from the ego programming, the social norms and messaging about like, well, you're not supposed to do that. And it's like, okay, well, maybe you're not supposed to do that, but I say no thank you to your messages that are trying to should me. Don't hold me down with your shoulds. Thank you. No thank you. Yeah. And so I think anytime like we're moving into living a different way and we have that kind of fear, anxiety, or apprehension that comes up, if I could just offer you some unsolicited advice, it would be just to take kind of a deep breath and ask your body, what should I do? What do you need from me? You know, and taking that deep breath in and deep breath out, your body's going to let you know, right? Like, yeah, see, Ben agrees. That's how he lives his life. Although I think his body is a little bit off because he tries to eat plastic all the time. Not chew on it. Like he tries to like eat it. It's a thing, but we still love him because he's a weirdo. But, you know, tuning into your body, you know, in those times that you're a little bit anxious about these next steps that you're taking, this new life that you're creating for yourself, I feel like that can be really helpful because, you know, sometimes the mind makes us feel anxious, but when we don't feel the anxiety in our body, that's the sign that our body's like, no, we're good. Like just all ego brains going crazy over there. Don't mind them. Like we feel good. We feel fine. Let's go get our charcuterie board life. So group number 2. This has been your reading. I hope that you enjoyed it. And I hope that you can feel it coming because like it's fast. This is going to happen really fast. And I hope that you enjoy all the variety and the fun that is coming for you because I feel like it's going to be lovely. It's going to be great. A lot of, you know, like heart stuff here, a lot of greens, you know, and just the heart chakra and the cups and the love, and I love it. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for letting me read your cards. And if you enjoyed the reading, I would love it if you would like and or subscribe. And I will see you next time. Have a happy full moon. Hello, group number 3. So if you chose this Amazonite crystal and the Kanaz rune, this is your reading. So let's see. This is very interesting. So group number 1 was, oh, sorry, you can't see that. This was group number 1's rune. This was group number 2's rune. And this is your rune. And then the next one is actually this one. That's so weird that they're all in order. I did shuffle. So I don't know. What is this magic? Okay, what are we doing? Page 12. So 12 means anything to you. 1 + 2 is 3 for the numerology. 3 is the number of like the triad, like body, mind, spirit. Why can't I think of anything else? Love, death, and taxes. No, that's not part of the triad. Okay, let me. Oh my gosh. Happy full moon. Okay. Kanaz, barn owl. The acquisition of wisdom, knowledge, and insight has been the owl's forte since the beginning of time. They have sharp eyes that can see in the dark. they have sharp eyes that can see in the dark what others need light to perceive. The companion of many goddesses across many cultures, the owl is a holder of their occult secrets. For the unaware creature, they are fearsome. Kanaz has the hot, bright energy of fire and the illuminating torch. It represents the search for truth and knowledge and a burning creative drive. In a reading, Kanaz speaks of artistic and technical ability and honing your craft. Lighting your way through the dark, it encourages you to be a self-starter and to take initiative guided by curiosity and intelligence. The keywords are enlightenment, creativity, skill, offspring, and learning. Excuse me, I was losing my voice there. Love it. This Amazonite crystal is also it's also connected to like psychic abilities and like communication. So I feel like with this like enlightenment, creativity, like these two are kind of connected in that way. So I pulled 4 tarot cards for you, as well as a surrender card, a healing mantra, and starseed offspring card. But let's look at your tarot. So we're going to look at these tarot cards, and these will be the chapters or chapter that you are closing out right now. Very interesting. Okay. I didn't pull these in any order, so I'm kind of just trying to look at them to see how they need to go together. Like I feel like they're telling me a story and I'm trying to figure out what the story is. So the chapter that you're closing out is like you left something behind, and after moving on or in the process of moving on, like it changed the way that you see things. So, you know, this 6 of Swords, it says explore, discovery, moving on. For you, I feel like it's very much like a moving on, leaving behind energy. And this Hanged Man is about like waiting, rebirth, reflection, sacrifice. I feel like the thing you left behind, like it felt like you were sacrificing something. Either you had to sacrifice this thing so that you could move forward, or if you had stayed, you would have been sacrificing yourself. Like it felt like that situation that you left behind was like a rock in a hard place that you didn't want to leave, but you couldn't stay. Like it wasn't something that you were meant to stay in. It wasn't a place you were meant to stay at. There was a part of you that didn't want to stay, but there's also a part of you that didn't want to go. So it was very much like that stuck energy. This hangman energy is about, you know, like waiting, being kind of tied up and bound against our will, and kind of just having to either wait for someone to get us down or wait for ourselves to calm down enough that we can get ourselves down, right? That we can rest and get enough energy where we can kind of sort of pull ourselves up and get this untied. But it feels like in the leaving behind, and even after like you got to this new place that you moved on to, there was a lot of reflection around like what that thing was in the past, you know, and that there's the time and space that came with the distance you created from leaving that thing behind, from moving on from that thing. Like there's so much clarity that came in that time and space that you had like to yourself, you know, because in the traditional tarot, 6 of Swords has, usually there's someone that's moving the boat along, and then there's a woman and a child. This one only has one person. You know, the hangman typically is just one person, you know, kind of being solitary, reflecting with their thoughts. But I think for you, you know, like you had to carry the weight of the decision to leave on, you had to carry it yourself. And in the leaving and in the new kind of the new time when you had arrived where you were moving on to, like there was a lot of reflection that was happening. And so like, I know that's kind of a weird way to say it, right? In the new time, like, I don't have like a period of time, like whenever you got to where you were going, it felt new until it wasn't new anymore. And like, once you got familiar with being there, like it was, the familiarity came from being able to move through all that clarity and perspective shifting. It was almost like that when you moved on to this new person, place, thing, situation, whatever, like life thing, there was a period where you were still kind of untangling yourself mentally from what had happened. And until you had that clarity, the new thing felt new that whole time. I hope this is making sense, because really like what came through is that like it was new until it wasn't anymore. And like that's such a kind of weird abstract way to say it. So I hope it makes sense to you the way it makes sense to me. Once it stopped being new, like you were really, really ready to move forward, like with everything else. It's almost like the leaving and the being in the new period was this really healing time for you. And until you were healed, everything felt new. And so once you were healed and you were ready to move forward, like that's when it was no longer new anymore. And so with this Knight of Swords, the Knight of Swords is the fastest moving knight in the tarot, but it talks about high lows, conflicts, tension. Sometimes when we're in a hurry, if we're in a rush, that's when we can make mistakes, right? And so the Knight of Swords, it can be the fastest moving, but with this kind of third eye here, with this gained perspective, with all this knowledge and hindsight, I feel like it brought the ability to be a little bit more intentional while you are moving fast. And so it almost feels like your brain is ready for this fast new thing to come in, but like in the tangible, it hasn't happened yet. And I feel like that's very much like this balance. It might be tied to like the Mercury retrograde energy, because Mercury retrogrades are kind of a time when like we're encouraged to kind of slow down, reflect, reevaluate. It could be that you just haven't moved forward with something yet because it didn't feel like the right time, like it just, because we've got the sword here, but this little tiger is kind of looking back at the past. Like, okay, well, I know I have the resources to move forward, but I'm not sure I'm ready yet. And it feels like, because I'm looking at this Amazonite card with like the luck and abundance. I feel like, luck is just another word for like divine timing, that like sometimes people are like, oh, you're so lucky. And then you might know that like, I'm not lucky. I just didn't take action because I didn't feel divinely called to. It didn't feel in alignment. It didn't feel right. And then when it felt aligned, when it felt like the right move, that's when I did it. And that's why I had a lucky outcome. And so that's why I feel like your mind is ready for this new thing. Like your brain's like, let's go get this new life. Come on. But it's almost like your soul or your energy is like, there's still a little bit of reflecting on the past that I want to do. Let me just review all this stuff to make sure that like I really got everything I needed out of it, that I learned everything, that there isn't any more for me to kind of glean from this before we move forward. And with the Magician, this power action skill, the Magician is the master manifestor. The Magician can create whatever they want because they have access to and experience with all of the elements of the tarot. In the traditional Magician card, you have a cup, a sword, a pentacle, and a wand. And here they've got the water around them. They've got this kind of eye, which could be like the pentacle. The wand here, I don't see a sword, but that could also be the eye. So you're completing, like the chapter that you're closing out is really around like you're writing the ending of the book on your past. Oh, I don't know if you heard that. That was a very low kind of meow agreement from Ben. And once you have completed writing that final chapter, those closing statements of that book, of that chapter, you will be like postured, prepared to start the new thing. And so it feels like, I don't know what this new thing is going to be for you, but it's whatever you are wanting to create. And I think with this being a general reading, like everybody's going to want to create something different, right? Some people might be wanting to create a business or a family or a relationship or a promotion or an easier life. Like there's all these, there's so many possibilities. But once you feel like you have penned the final words of the chapter, the closing remarks of your book or your chapter, like that's when you will move into this magician energy, and you'll just start magicking and manifesting this next chapter of your life, because you have so much wisdom from what you learned through this. And then we've got the fire here. Like you have the passion, you have the drive to make these things happen. So it's really like, that's awesome. Awesome. So let's look at your surrender message. Surrender to trust. Trust yourself in your decisions. Don't be swayed by other people's strong opinions about what you do. Take action and be confident that you have chosen the right path. Yeah, I feel like that's very much like this Knight of Swords and this magician energy. Like I am doing my final review, and then I have made sure that I have all the tools and elements and experience and wisdom that I need to create the life that I want, regardless of how other people feel about it. This is your healing mantra card, Soothing Impatience. The mantra is, there is nothing to do but wait. Yeah. I feel like that aligns with this Knight of Swords energy, how he's kind of looking back, that like, it doesn't feel like you are impatient. It almost feels like there's someone around you that is impatient. Like, are you going to do this thing or not? Are you going to start this business or not? Are you going to make this move or not? And it's like, who questions a tiger? Nobody in their right mind. It's, it's like you're just saying, I'm just going to do a final review, and like, I will move when I'm ready. I will make the move when I'm ready. So you and your impatience can go somewhere else. And then we have the Starseed Oracle, which is Lost Lands, and the message is soul memories and gifts. You've done this before. Okay. And this might be related to this Kanaz rune and the owl, like that. The owl might be a spirit animal for you, or you might just be someone that, kind of resonates with that concept of being like an old soul, or like having kind of soul wisdom. You might be into Akashic records, but you can, especially with this magician here, you can tune into your intuition. Like I said, Amazonite is connected to psychic abilities. If you don't feel like you've got any kind of past life knowledge or wisdom, this might be like a crystal or a color that is helpful for you to work with. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to buy this crystal. You can just look at a picture of it. You can read up on it. You can go to a metaphysical store and just kind of hang out with a piece of it if you can't afford to buy it, because I feel like crystals can be like really expensive sometimes. Yeah, but there's like you have everything that you need inside you, for sure. Yeah. So group number 3, this has been your full moon closing chapters reading. So I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope it helps you to feel like supported. I hope that it helps you to feel a little bit of relief if you're having a hard time with like whatever has been going on, like just knowing that it's coming to an end, and that you are just coming closer every day to manifesting and creating the life it is that you want for yourself. And that you can surrender to the divine timing. You can trust that, like, even if people on the outside are a little bit pushy, like you're doing, you know how to stay in alignment, and you know how to follow the path of what is best for you. Yeah. So, I want to say thank you for letting me read your cards. Thank you for hanging out with me. If you enjoyed this reading, I would love it if you would like and subscribe. And yeah, I hope you have a lovely full moon, and I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, group number 4. So if you chose this Jasper crystal and the Radho rune, this is your reading. So I'm going to read you about this rune. It says, the humpback whale traverses great oceans with a calm and gentle ease, the embodiment of going with the flow. He is connected to the deep rhythms and truths of the universe. As the stars sway above him in the eternal cycle of the Milky Way, the moon governs the tides of the seas and the routines of his daily life. When the whale is connected and attuned to the harmonies of life, he always moves easily in the right direction. Radho oversees the journey. There is a calm, confident, ordered energy to this rune. It references forward motion and the ability to achieve your goals by being in the right place at the right time. Take ownership and control of your story. You are the leader of your life, and developing a true and reliable inner compass is your greatest asset. The keywords are journey, natural rhythms, action, movement, right path. I love that. Beautiful. And with this perseverance, I feel like that's like the beautiful connection between the two, because following our intuition, like going with the flow, surrendering to things, it's not something that makes sense to everybody. And it's not easy to do. You know, we live in a world of like doing, and going with the flow and surrendering is really living the life of being. And doing is so much easier than being. You know, being requires us to just be present and kind of wait for the flow to carry us where it carries us, or for us to wait for signals to follow the flow. Doing is, you know, just deciding and taking action, like based in our own kind of governance and decision making versus some kind of like higher level guidance. So yeah, just felt called to share that. I have pulled 4 tarot cards for you to help us kind of see what chapter or chapters you're closing out. We've got a surrender card, a healing mantra, and then a starseed oracle that we will look at the end. So let's look at your tarot cards to see what you are closing out. Very interesting. Okay. So what... I just asked for 4 random cards to kind of help us see like what chapters you're closing out. And it's obviously it's a lot of pentacles. But what I'm seeing is actually it's almost 2 different things. Let's see. So I feel like there's a connection here. 4 of Pentacles is a card of clinging, scarcity, kind of a fear of like moving on. The little message on here says, sorry, not for sharing, you know, so there's that like holding really tightly to something. And I think the problem is that like when we hold too tightly to something, it doesn't allow that energy to flow. And then we look at this, you know, King of Pentacles, and it's just spraying or just like shooting money out everywhere, right? And it says, some people say money can't buy happiness, but have you tried throwing a bunch of cash in the air? So I feel like these are 2 extremes of kind of the energetic flow, right? Where we can have one extreme where it's like we cling so tightly there is no flow. And then we have the other extreme where it's like we're giving away, or we're kind of pushing out so much that we're like a wave pool, like we're creating these false waves of flow. Like it's it's the same, it's two sides of the same coin, which is control. This is the control to hold on, and this is control to make things happen. And so it feels like one of the chapters that you're closing out is around that kind of doing energy that we talked about, like making things happen instead of being in the flow and waiting for it to happen. You know, a lot of us like struggle with control because we have learned that when you control things, it makes them predictable, and predictability equals safety, because unpredictability equals feeling unsafe, you know, because uncertainty and unpredictability are they're really difficult energies for humans to be in, because we don't know what's happening, and it kind of flings us into this really vulnerable state of being, right? That like, if you've ever like been in an accident or known somebody that had a car accident, or like really anybody that's experienced anything where there's like a certain level of shock to it, like when you reflect, sorry, little guy, when you reflect back on what happened, or when you reflect back on what was happening when you were in shock, like it doesn't make sense, right? Even some of the symptoms of shock, like one of the symptoms of shock is that people feel like excessively thirsty. And it's like, okay, well, you just broke your leg, you know, like maybe there's a bone sticking out of your leg, and like, I mean, you might be thirsty, but this is probably more so shock, you know? And it's like, that's not logical that you would become extra thirsty because you have an injury, right? It's like, even the symptoms don't make sense, but it feels like trying to control things is really an attempt to feel safe, to create a sense of safety. And so I think the hard thing about control, misplaced control disguised as safety, is that we don't really get to address the thing that made us feel unsafe, and we don't really get to address what safety means to us. And so it feels like this chapter is going to close out, but I think learning like what you need to feel safe, and like safety can have to do with many different things. There can be like job safety and security, financial safety and security, emotional safety and security, relational, where you live, even like spiritual safety and security. I think if you were raised with any kind of like religious dogma, or like really kind of strict doctrine around something, like spirituality can feel very like kind of crazy and Wild West and too much. And I feel like that kind of applies to anything, right? Like if we have had really traumatic experiences in relationship, then like the way we create safety for ourselves is to control who can and can't relate to us, connect with us. And a lot of times that leads to like isolation, because you can't control other people. And so the real issue with that is that you learned that other people are not safe. And it's like, okay, so what is needed for other people to seem safe? And it's like, well, I can't read them. And it's like, okay, what does reading people give you? Well, it helps me to like understand if they're like a genuine person that really wants to connect, or if they're trying to use me. And it's like, okay, so then what we can do is we can put a safety mechanism in place, which is time, right? So instead of jumping into a relationship with someone after 2 weeks, maybe we create this safety mechanism of a longer time period of 2 months before we decide if we want to commit to that person. And over those 2 months, we can take the time to get to know them. And maybe what we find is after 4 weeks, they've shown themselves to be a very not safe person for us. And we aren't in a relationship, so we can say, hey, this isn't going to work for me. And so I hope that makes sense, like that. I hope that example illustrates like how control can be put in place for something where it's actually like we just need to learn how to make ourselves safe. That's like the big thing that's coming through for this one lesson, this one chapter. I think for some of you, I don't know if you can hear this siren. Sorry. For some of you, that's very important. I don't usually have anything with a siren coming by my house. So I feel like for some of you, like working with a professional is going to be really, really helpful to like determine what you need to feel safe versus like what control mechanisms that you have put in place to create a sense of safety for yourself, and also to help you identify like the ways that you have kept yourself safe, the way that you can be an authority for your own safety. So I feel like that's one chapter that's being closed out. Not to say that if you don't work with a professional, this is not going to happen. Like this isn't conditional. I think there's just some control safety things there that like a professional could help you with, because that's not me. I read cards with, I look for messages in picture cards. So the next lesson that you're closing out, I feel like, which also has to do with this, is understanding like what this has to do with, like relating. This is something relational, and I feel like it's the full spectrum of relationships, because like 10 of Pentacles is a family, right? It says family is everything, and I'm so grateful for every moment I get to spend with my family. So it's like we have a couple generations here, and then like a little puppy dogs, right? So we've got parents, kid, grandparent, old dogs. Or this could just be like a random community of people that feel like a family. They don't have to necessarily be related, but this is, a very positive group relationship that is not romantic. And then we have the lovers, which has two meanings to it. The lovers can be, intimate romantic partnership. It says love is the most powerful magic of all, the alchemy that transforms two separate beings into one. And so that's kind of the traditional way that we look at, intimate partnership and like marriage and things like that. But the lovers card in tarot is also a reflection of ourselves, our relationship with ourselves, because the lovers is connected to Gemini, which is the twins. And so Geminis are, unfortunately, like the negative stereotype is that they're two-sided, but looking at that twin element, we all have two sides to us. There's a duality to us. We have our public persona and our private persona. We have, the part of us that, like the way that we operate when we're healthy, and then the way that we operate when we are feeling under the weather or we're feeling sick. Like the way that we are in partnerships, the way that we are in friendships, the way that we are with positive connections, the way that we are when there's tension in other connections. So it feels like the chapter that you're closing out, the other chapter that you're closing out, is a big lesson on relationships, like relating to others, relating to yourself, and then like a myriad of relationship dynamics, and that like, it almost feels like there was a little bit of an epiphany moment that like, when we talk about relationships, it's not just romantic, but also when we talk about relationships, like are we talking about a work relationship? Are we talking about an acquaintance relationship? Are we talking about a friend relationship? Are we talking about chosen family relationship? Are we talking about distant family relationship? Are we talking about dating relationship, committed partner relationship? Like there's so many, the relationship you have with your pets. There's so many different relationships that we have. And I feel like the epiphany is that you realize that, you had kind of taken on this mindset that a lot of people do. Like it's this conditioning that when we talk about relationships, it's only romantic, and that like, I feel like one of the big lessons that you've learned is that we, as people, the way we relate is based on our values, and that like those values are a part of us. And they're almost like a guiding, like a North Star for all of our relationships, right? So if one of your values is freedom, you're going to need a certain amount of freedom in all of your relationships, right? So if one of your values was freedom and you had a really strict parent, you probably were seen as a rebellious child to your parents, you know. And then in your friendships, you know, if one of your values is well, your value is freedom. And so in friendships, like what that looks like is that like it doesn't bother you that your best friend has like actually two other people that they also call their best friend, because like you need the freedom to do whatever you want. And like you can't be attached to the hip with them. That's not, you know, that's very stifling for you. Or even in like romantic relationships, that freedom is very important. And so like you can't date someone that tries to tell you what to wear or when you need to come home or like who you can and can't hang out with. So I feel like that's part of this epiphany that you have had in this chapter, is learning that like there's so many different relationships that we have, and also that your values don't change with those relationships. Like the relationships essentially are different flavors that you enjoy in your life. So it's like every relationship is ice cream, but like not every relationship is rocky road, and not every relationship is banana split, not every relationship is vanilla, and not every relationship is chocolate, you know. So I hope that makes sense. So there's these two here. So let's look at your oracle cards. So we have your surrender card, which is surrender to your intuition. Tune into your inner voice. Be aware of any gut feelings, flashes, knowings, or aha moments that come through to guide you. If you haven't had that kind of epiphany about relationships, like maybe that's coming, or you might be having other intuitive epiphanies that come up for you. Welcoming surrender is your healing card. The mantra is there is no problem, only destiny being revealed. Yeah, I feel like this is a great card for this kind of control chapter that you're closing out, right? That like when we let go of control and we welcome surrender, it's not a problem that we don't know what's coming up. It's really like an unfolding, right? That like in welcoming surrender, you allow the universe to unfold the story in front of you instead of trying to control the narrative. Yeah. And then your starseed oracle is messenger, Sirius energy, bringing harmony and balance. So you might have a connection to the star Sirius or the planet Sirius. I don't know if it's a star or a planet. I think it's a star. Obviously, I don't know. So you're gonna have to Google that. But I feel like this is connected to intuition. So I feel like you might have like some kind of intuitive messengers. You might have some messages that come from like looking into Sirius energy. This might just be a message of, you know, trying to find some harmony and balance, you know, with this control, like moving into this flow state, this surrender, and kind of allowing yourself to release a little bit of control to experience what it means to surrender and go with the flow. That, you know, it's safe to do that. Like it's going to bring some harmony and balance in, and also baby steps, you know. If you're used to having a very high level of control, surrender can feel kind of big and scary to do, but you can surrender in like really small ways. You know, this can look like, you know, letting someone else choose where you guys go for lunch, or you can even just like open yourself up to your own, you know, intuition and connection with the universe, and say, hey, you know, I'm thinking about doing this thing, and if you can give me a sign that I won't miss, to let me know that that's, I don't know, that you're there with me when I go and do it. Or if you can give me a sign to let me know, that, you know, spirit, you're there with me when I go on my hike, or, you know, anything like that. Just opening yourself up to signs from the universe and just asking the universe to give you a sign that you won't miss so that you can start to have that connection and that relationship with them, you know, because surrendering to somebody that you don't know is really hard. And it doesn't make sense, right? So it's like if you don't have a relationship with like the universe or your intuition yet, like just kind of doing some of those small things to cultivate that relationship will make it much easier for you to get into the practice of surrendering. Yeah. So group number 4, this has been your full moon closing chapters reading. So I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that it was like helpful for you because I feel like you're closing out some big chapters. You're moving through some big stuff. It's not easy. So I just want to tell you that you're doing a really good job. Surrender is a really difficult lesson to kind of deal with or be in. And again, we've got some sirens here. So this is a very, this is a very important message for you that you're doing a good job. The universe agrees. You're doing great, kid. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for letting me read cards for you. If you enjoyed this reading, I would love it if you would like and subscribe. And I am wishing you a lovely full moon, and I will see you next time. Bye.